Good evening, wonderful people. Hello, and welcome to Rickcast. I'm Rick, where we talk about things because that's what people do on the internet nowadays. Hope everybody's having a wonderful Thursday, the 10th of April, 2025, as we are continuing to march through Holy Week, my fellow Catholics. We're not Holy, we're at Passion Week. But I got a great show for you tonight, as I always do. We're going to be talking about the SAVE Act because that's kind of the biggest news of the day. It's been a very, very slow news day. So we're going to talk about that. LeBron James is the first man to have an official Ken doll. There's a lot of jokes there. Obviously, you can put them in yourself before we get to that story. But yes, there are a lot of jokes about LeBron James being the first Ken doll. Remember when the helicopter American Airlines crash happened over the Potomac River in Washington, D.C.? There was a lot of people, and I did it too, although I was smart to do it because, I actually am very smart. The smartest out there. But there were certain people that identified a member of the military who thinks they're a woman. And this kind of caught some steam, even though it wasn't this person. This trans individual is now suing this conservative influencer over, false information and things like that, which is actually very interesting to somebody like myself who tries to operate in this space, because that's very indicative of a precedent that could be set going forward. And then finally, the studios, humans, we've lost as far as the AI controversy, the AI war, whatever you want to call it. We've lost because James Cameron has officially come out and endorsed AI. He is officially on board with it. He thinks it's a way to save money, because one thing that's happening right now with Hollywood budgets is they're becoming bloated. They're becoming inflated. And he thinks one of the ways to do that is to actually use AI to do some things to cut some of the corners, so that way they can make more of these movies. So, yeah, you just got to admit you lost. You lost, and it's over for y'all. It really is. If James Cameron is deciding that he's going to use AI on his films that, are already a gazillion dollars, and they're already effects driven heavy and so forth, then that's just going to filter down throughout the rest of the industry. So that's it for that. They've lost the AI war, if you will. And then I have a couple of hot takes, one funny, one tragic, and one that kind of fits in with Catholics and what we're dealing with in some ways. The left Caths versus your supposed traditional or right-wing Catholics, or whatever the case may be. But it's going to be a lot of fun. I want you to participate as much as possible, because it makes the show better. So do me a favor, everybody on Rumble, on Getter, on YouTube, like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell. Helps the show get spread out to more people. If you're on X and you're one of the few people that are watching on X, because X is a piece of crap platform, which I don't mind saying because it is. I'm not one of these conservative bros that, is interested in being friends with Elon Musk. Most of those guys want to be friends with Elon Musk, and so they will not question anything he does, whether it's his impregnating of 15 different women or the fact that X was championed as a free speech platform, but is now just a bastion of trash, Trump slop, and people supposedly breaking news that has been broken previously. But we're on Getter, and I like people on Getter. They're good people. So we're happy to be there, and I'm happy that you're here. So let's get to our stories right away. And Thursday is always it's everybody streams on Thursdays. If I look at my analytics, Tuesday, Wednesday are my best days because nobody streams. Everybody streams. It's like must see, the Thursday night lineup, must see TV. That's when everybody decides. So the market's flooded. So I appreciate you taking the time to hang out with me. I know you got a lot of options out there, and I greatly, greatly appreciate you being here. So real quick, before I jump into everything, for the people on Getter, I only have about 30 minutes with you, my lovelies. and my lovely bar rats. When you're watching this show, you're a part of the bar rats. And if you can't figure out that's from my name, then that's from my name. It's not because I think you're a bar rat. It's a joke. But you're one of my bar rats. And my bar rat's on Getter. I only have about 30 minutes with you, my sweet, sweet children. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go up to about the 30-minute mark. And then I will invite you to subscribe to the Rickcast page, where you will find clips from the show and you will find the entire show. I'll repost the entire show if you want to see the rest of it, or I'll have clips from different segments of the show on there as well. So until we can figure out how to get the time a little bit more, subscribe to the Rickcast page that you're watching right now live on the wonderful platform that is Getter. All right, folks, let's get to our stories of the night. Let's see. First of all, so I don't want to go straight into the tragic one first, because that's hard to do. Let's talk about this one. Let's talk about this one from UPI.com. So if you're in the market for this, if this kind of seems like it's up your alley, maybe this will help you. Maybe you got to pay some bills or whatever the case may be. But NASA is offering $3 million in competition to recycle human waste in space, because apparently the people at NASA are too busy coming up with drill plans to stop asteroids, which is a nice Armageddon reference in case you didn't get it, or taking pictures of the planet for supposed climate change research, to actually do their job, which is figuring out how to recycle human waste in space. How long have we been doing space travel? And we haven't really figured this out yet. You think that would have been, and I am not an astronaut, I'm not even good enough to be an oil driller, but if I was an astronaut, I would probably be like, hey, is there any way, like, we don't have to can we just like jettison it out into space? It's not like we need it, right? Yeah. How are we recycling? Are we talking like a water world type recycling here? Because if we're talking about water world type recycling, I'm not down for that either, crotchety elder. But anyway, let's see. NASA's offering $3 million to anybody, because apparently they don't have the geniuses that used to work at NASA who can propose technology to solve an unusual problem, which is the recycling of defecation and other human waste in space. Space Agency's Luna Recycle Challenge calls on members of the public to propose a technology means of recycling astronauts' waste, which includes, vomit, on the moon and during long-haul space flights. My thing is, how are you going to be able to test it on Earth? Because the whole zero gravity thing is an issue, right? That's something you got to take into account. I don't know how you're going to factor that in. Just me. This seems like more of a publicity stunt, but I think, that it's getting bad over at NASA. The chosen technology will be put to use on future space missions, including hypothetical long-term outposts on the moon. Now, if we haven't been to the moon by now, we ain't getting to the moon anytime soon. NASA is committed to sustainable space exploration. As we prepare for future human space missions, there will be a need to consider how various waste streams, including solid waste, can be minimized, as well as how waste can be stored, processed, and recycled in a space environment so that little or no waste will be needed to be returned to Earth. Why don't you just put it in capsule and fire that sucker out in space? It's a pretty big-ass sky, according to Billy Bob Thornton. I'm all about my Armageddon quotes tonight. You can't just like pick a different direction and fire it off every week. I don't know. It seems like a pretty self correcting issue, but I don't know. It's kind of funny, and more of a publicity stunt, because right now I just dumped on Elon Musk, but I'll say he's the only guy that's really doing anything space exploration wise. And the fact that he is actually doing something space exploration wise, NASA's been left in the dust. Now, that's also because partly NASA has been scrapped away from its original mission into another conduit to push things like climate change and all these other kinds of things. So it's been diverted away from its original mission. That doesn't really shock me. that we're seeing this struggle by the space agency to actually have people, consider them worthy of a space agency. But times are tough, so talk about poop. All right, this is Rick Cast. Like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell. Help the show grow. If you notice tonight, newest addition to the back. That's right. We stand the Waffle House in this organization. Waffle House mug, latest in the background. I'm very proud of it, by the way. Absolutely. Love the Waffle House. If you don't love the Waffle House, you might have a problem with this show. We love the Waffle House, Buc-ee's, and Hampton Inn here in this program. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get to our second story of the day. This is tragic. This was a pretty terrible story. We're not going to be watching the actual footage of it because this is it's absolutely a tragedy. But let's get to this headline here. If I can hit the button. Family of Spanish tourists died in helicopter crash into the Hudson River. Mayor of New York says, here's a little video to tell you what, happened.
All right. Because this helicopter appears to be upside down, they've gotten a smaller boat out there.
Mm-hmm. And this is new video in that we've just been able to get in here, Phil.
Okay, so you see the bigger boats around it. They've launched some smaller boats off of that to get closer to the chopper. I don't know right now if there are divers in there. I have not been told that, but I know they are trying to get as close as they can to get a handle on, are people still in the chopper? Where is everybody? Because right now, as law enforcement is reporting it to us, we only have accounted 3 of the 5 people they are telling on board, and those 3 people are dead.
Mm-hmm. And you can look at those smaller boats. Those are the types of boats they usually do send divers off of, or people into the water if they're going to go into the water.
All right. So as you can see, terrible tragedy today. Awful footage. Like I said, we're not going to watch it. It's pretty. It's absolutely. It's kind of terrorizing. But a helicopter broke apart in midair Thursday afternoon and crashed upside down into the Hudson River between Manhattan and New Jersey, killing the family of Spanish tourists, including 3 children, in the latest high-profile aviation disaster in the U.S. Now, of course, this is also because the legacy media is doing everything it can to highlight the problems in aviation. If you were to look these up the past couple of years under the Biden regime, if you want to call it, there were accidents, there were incidences. It's just they were not as highly publicized. The legacy media is not your friend, and what they're doing is they're trying to sow chaos. Exactly, Lou. Eternal rest grant unto them, O Lord, and the perpetual light shine upon them. May they rest in peace. Amen. And the fact is this. It's a tragedy. And, this, I think something like this happened a couple years ago. Like I said, if you watch the show enough, you'll literally see the squirrel in my head change directions. There was something like this that happened a couple years ago under the Biden regime. Let's see. Helicopter crash, New York. New York. Now you're going to watch me type. That's right. 2022, I believe it was 2022. Let me see. Is this it? Or is this nope, that's today. Now they're gonna do. Nope, they're only gonna concentrate on this one. All right. Well, that's pretty much how. Let's do this. Custom range. I really want to see this because I'm pretty sure I'm not gonna do this. That's what happens when I get into one of these. I try to find them, but they're gonna 2018. Sorry, a 2018 helicopter crash that happened in the East River. So yeah, that happened under Trump as well. Oh no, it wasn't as much of an issue, or wasn't as highlighted for the fact that it was a tragic issue, a tragic accident. As you can see here, 2018 helicopter crash in New York. This happens before. This is not the first time something like this pops up. Is it awful? Yes. Is it 100% breaks hearts? I completely agree. And I'm not trying to minimize the damage and the suffering that the people that are suffering right now are going through. It's awful. But the fact is, the way that these things are being framed right now is that, hey, this is only happening because Donald Trump is in office. Well, it happened back in 2018, and nobody thought the aviation industry was falling apart back then. And last time I checked, Donald Trump was in office. So what changed? That's what you have to ask. Yeah, if you watch the video, like I said, I'm not going to show it here, but if you watch the video, it's crazy. It's crazy to watch because the rotor literally just separates from the body of the helicopter, and the helicopter just plummets straight into the river. And yeah, it's frightening, but that's what we all, I mean, people worry about things like helicopter crashes and plane crashes. You get in your car, it could happen. Life is so fragile that to worry about, oh, well, if I get into this helicopter, blah, 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 blah. Now, of course, this comes from me, and I don't want to fly. I'll drive as many places as I can. But the fact of the matter is, you still can't let it determine how you actually live your life. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is Rickcast. Like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell so that way we can continue to grow the program as much as possible. Let's get to our third story of the day. This is going to be more Catholic centered than not. Liberal nuns. Liberal nuns. What are liberal nuns doing to the Catholic Church? Well, they're like liberal women in the rest of society, the boomer generation, and so forth. They're terrible. They're awfuls. Affluent, white, liberal females. Now, I don't know how you put the awful into and include liberal nuns, but for Catholics, we call them the sisters of the traveling pantsuit because they don't wear their habits. They decide that they want to wear pantsuits and run around and call themselves nuns. Now, if they took their orders and everything like that, then I'm not questioning that. But the fact is, they spend more time campaigning over certain issues and pushing certain issues than actually preaching and praying and living out the faith. The nuns on the bus. That's a great one too, Lou. The nuns on the bus. We hear that all the time. And I covered this story back when I used to do the Daily Mag Dump, that another liberal women's group was one of the people that sued Smith & Wesson over quote unquote gun violence. They're great pawns. And that's really what we have to look at them. What they do is they're great pawns for the left because they go, oh, look at these Catholic nuns. They're obviously, you wouldn't think a nun is wrong. And it's all optics there. But let's see what they're doing. They want to bring back Ford's pro-LGBT DEI practices. A cadre of liberal, and we can thank LifeSite News for this, a cadre of liberal religious sisters organizations have joined together to pressure the Ford Motor Company into reinstating the pro-LGBTQ and DEI policies that the car manufacturer abandoned last year. In August, Ford announced that they would do this. Let's see. I don't really care about any of that. Here we go. Ford became one of several corporations no longer participating in the Human Rights Campaign's corporate index. So far, Let's get to the actual sisters. We all know this. We all know that Ford abandoned it, and they are getting with the times and the anti-DEI stuff and all these other things. And most other companies outside of what? Costco's like the only one that didn't really take any extreme measures. Everybody else kind of did. A lot of companies did. Target and a lot of other places say, hey, we're gonna scrap the DEI stuff, at least for now, until a Democrat comes into office. But now we're seeing the left use its optics game. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's, Ford right now is like, can you just shut up? Because we're trying to get people in the door with the employee pricing thing. We don't need this stuff. But apparently, among those responding to the contrived quote unquote state of emergency that the Human Rights Coalition has declared because we do not affirm their life choices. That's really all it is they want confirmation and affirmation of their terrible life choices. That's really what it is. Let's just be real. Stop dancing around and stop beating around the bush. when they have Pride Month, Pride Day, Trans Days of Visibility, DEI, pride flags over your office, all they're doing is they're telling you that they need your affirmation because they know the lifestyle is wrong. They know what they're doing is wrong. And the only way they feel better about it is if they force you, who has not fallen under this spell. You could say it's a demonic spell, and you have to be forced to affirm what that they're doing is right. So most people are like, okay. But now there's a state of emergency because it's now open season on homosexuals, lesbians, and all these other people, even though most Americans don't really care because they just want to be left alone. They want to be left alone, and they don't want their kids to have to deal with this stuff. They don't want their kids to have to worry about what's happening. So it's crazy that we have to look at that. But these are the Catholic, quote unquote, organizations. The Sisters of Mercy, Mercy Investment Services, the Adrian Dominican Sisters. The Adrian Dominican Sisters were one of the groups that sued Smith & Wesson. The Daughters of Charity Incorporated, and the Bon Secours Mercy Health Incorporated. Not many nuns are part of corporations. That's your first clue that these are not exactly women who are adhering to the Roman Catholic lifestyle. I know that's kind of mean for somebody like me to say, but that's the first thing that I see. If you see an incorporation, it's not the Sisters of Mercy or any of these others, because most of them, maybe they are incorporated. You let me know in the comment section down below if I'm wrong there, but I don't think so. Most of the time they are, well, maybe I don't know. I see what I'm doing is I'm kind of going back and forth here because I don't know if they have to be some kind of incorporation to get the 501c3 status that they're looking at. So that's because the one that I think about is there's this group out in Arkansas, out in Berryville, Arkansas, the Brothers and Sisters of Charity at Little Portion Hermitage. Beautiful little retreat center if you ever get out there. Yeah, I don't think they're not an incorporation. I don't see them. They don't look like an incorporation. So I'll stick to what I'm saying here. It's they don't have to be an incorporation in order to be a 501c3. All right. Long and short of it, what I was trying to say before, when you see an incorporation, liberal nuns are bad. They're bad because they pervert the faith. They likely represent the activist investors, leftist groups that become corporate shareholders in order to exercise outside influence on large corporations in an attempt to further their agenda of transforming society. As Ford stockholders, the sisters have officially proposed that a vote be taken at the automator's next annual meeting of shareholders to direct the company's board of directors to, quote unquote, prepare and issue a report describing blah, 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 blah. Now, a lot of us would say, sisters of whatever you are. I forgot. Don't you think your time would be spent better helping the poor or helping people who are in hospitals or visiting prisoners or educating youth or any of the other things that nuns have been known for in the past? Instead, now we're going to get blasted out on conservative media by, oh, look at Catholic nuns. Catholic nuns want gay. No, we don't. No, we don't. But this is what they do. They use these nuns to push this out. And then you and I, my brothers and sisters in Christ, my fellow Catholics, now we're on the defensive. Now we have to be like, no, they're not religious. They're part of an organization. And it's ridiculous that we allow this to happen. Now, of course, that points to a larger problem in the church that we're not going to get to, but I just wanted to bring this up on your radar. All right, folks, this is Rick Cast. Like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell, and help the show grow. Let's get into our first story of the night, and that is talking about the SAVE Act that's happening. And I wanted to highlight this article from the Portland Press Herald. Jared Golden backs a Republican bill to require proof of citizenship when registering to vote. Okay, I guess we're not going to use that. Let's because it didn't have a it didn't I hate media because they have this. Boom, there we go. Let's just use the AP. How the House requirement to prove U.S. citizenship could affect the ability to vote. Now, of course, the AP is a leftist rag, but it is what it is. So the House on Thursday approved legislation requiring documentation, which is a proof of U.S. citizenship for anybody registering to vote, something that voters' rights groups have warned could disenfranchise millions of voters. Now, the AP is very sneaky when they do this. Oh, well, voters' rights groups. Who? They won't put the names on them. They'll just say, oh, voters' rights groups. Those are the ones. So the SAVE Act is a voter integrity bill. It mandates documents like a passport or a birth certificate for voter registration. Supporters are arguing it strengthens election integrity amidst concerns about non-citizens voting, which we know. They're playing this game. Oh, well, supposedly, we know in California, we know in New York, we know in Rhode Island, we know in any of these places that give out driver's licenses that these people are eligible to vote and probably have voted in elections. They probably have. It's just one of these things that the left, because it gives them an advantage, will say, no, it's not really a problem. This is going to disenfranchise people because apparently nobody has a friggin' document anymore, or they don't know how to get an ID, even though you need an ID to fly or buy alcohol or any of these other things. But when you need to vote, all of a sudden, the left's base goes back to the 1860s, where women and apparently minorities don't know how to get any of these other stuff. So you have that. One of the big things, well, let me give you I apologize for her voice, but she gives a pretty good summary of what the SAVE Act is.
Today, the House passed the SAVE Act, which is the Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act.
Like I said, I apologize for her voice. Sorry.
All it does is require proof of citizenship for voting. All Republicans voted in favor, but only 4 Democrats voted in favor. Only 4. The rest of the government elected officials voted against this. So I was trying to rack my brain around how the heck any American could be against voter ID. And I looked and asked for all their reasonings and scrolled through Instagram and X, and I couldn't find anything. So I finally just asked my bestie Grok. And the number one reason that Grok gave me that they were against this was potential voter suppression, making the argument that it would disproportionately burden certain groups of eligible U.S. citizens. But if you're a U.S. citizen, you should have ID. That should not burden anyone. But specifically, according to X Post, it said low-income individuals, people of color, married women, and rural residents.
Let me just say that it's actually kind of funny that like married women were brought back into this. Oh, the SAVE Act's going to disenfranchise the married woman and she's going to go back into the kitchen. No, that's not going to happen. Why would Republicans take away, married women vote conservatively most of the time? That's the kind of the joke. If, most women are liberal when you meet them, if not just kind of center, and then they become Republicans or conservatives once they get married and have kids. So why would Republicans take a voting block of women, which right now it's kind of more down the middle because there's a lot of awful, affluent, liberal white women who aren't exactly that. But why would you take away that demographic at all? So it's kind of funny that they talk. And rural voters, yeah, because the Republicans are going to push to get rid of that voting block as well.
Are you saying that these people are too stupid to know how to get an ID? If you don't have an ID in our country, if you can't figure that out, you can't vote. It's honestly offensive. It's offensive to say that these people cannot get access to an ID. Again, if you cannot get access to an ID as a citizen to vote and you want to vote, you shouldn't be voting. Another reason Grok gave me, according to some of the X posts, was this would now force state election systems to verify citizenship. and remove non-citizens from voter rolls, which threatens the state of the Democrats' elections. Huh, interesting. And then, of course, they're comparing this somehow to civil rights. Honestly, that one's too far of a stretch for me to even go into. But anyway, thank goodness we have a majority common sense. But
yeah, thanks, lady. Appreciate it. Now, the voter integrity thing was brought up, and it was interesting today. Tulsi Gabbard brought this up in the cabinet meeting.
That we're investigating. We have the best of the best going after this. Election integrity being one of them. We have evidence of how these electronic voting systems have been vulnerable to hackers for a very long time and vulnerable to exploitation to manipulate the results of the votes being cast, which further drives forward your mandate to bring about paper ballots across the country so that voters can have faith in the integrity of our elections.
So it's an interesting point you bring up, Crotchety. There's been some scuttlebutt, if you will, among right, center, right commentators, Jason Whitlock, Matt Walsh, others, talking about maybe it's married women. I know Tim Pool, who's in a bunch of other controversy, but he mentioned one time only married people with kids should vote, or any of these other kinds of things. There is an argument to be made that only people who have some kind of skin in the game, i.e., you have children, i.e., you have property, you are a business owner, something where you have invested in your community in one way or another. And the great example is college students. College students move into like Nebraska, and then all of a sudden the rest of the state is red except this one blueberry, and that's where the University of Nebraska is. And it changes the outcome of the election because it's so centralized. Or the fact that I could move from Texas to, let's say I have a stroke and I want to move into New Mexico. I could register to vote, and now I vote in the New Mexico election. That's why we saw Colorado is no longer a reliably red state, because the stoners and the California losers moved there and changed the demographics. That's why people are concerned about Texas, because you have a majority Indian population, you have Muslim population, you have liberal populations, all converging into the state who do not have vested interests in the state, and now they get to vote in it. Of course, on the flip side, people were happy about that with Florida, where you had a lot of conservatives move from the Northeast. And of course, a Northeastern conservative is just a centrist liberal. And then they voted in the Republican election. So, yeah, there are definitely arguments to restricting voting because it is such a precious thing in our system. Giving the ability to vote to people who are uninformed with it is a dangerous thing. It's the equivalent of giving somebody who is unfamiliar with firearms a gun and then telling him to run into a firefight. Nothing good's going to happen with it. And so the left will say one voice, one vote, or one man, one vote, or one they, them, and one vote, because they want to manipulate votes and they want to turn it into a direct democracy. And a direct democracy is an absolute death sentence for any country that's as large as this one, any union that is as large as this one. So great job there. Way to go, guys, on that one. But I would like to see this codified into law, at least. The SAVE Act has passed the House. Now let's see if the SAVE Act can pass the Senate. Because that would be nice to see, because it will enhance election integrity. It will restore public confidence, and it will standardize the verification process. The act is seen as a way to create like a uniform, reliable process for confirming voter eligibility. And it suggests it closes loopholes in current state-based systems, saying, i.e., the big one is, hey, you live in California. There you go. Have a license. You can't even speak English. You can't read the language. You can't do any of this other stuff. Don't care. Here's a license. Show show back up on the 6th of November and just put an X here. Because they're using chattel immigration to push this. Paper ballots would be the best. I know there's a very smart guy, Greg Carpenter, one time said, paper ballots with a barcode that's assigned to your social security number, your specific one that can be tracked. Something like that. That's the best way to do it. Electronic ones, I mean, they say they offer convenience, but they're always broken. There's always something wrong with them. There's always something that's not working. So with that in that regard. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is Rick Cast. Like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell. Got a couple more stories for you. Let's move on. Are conservative influencers or are influencers, are conservative influencers, are liberal influencers, are people in the podcast space potentially going to be held liable for mistakes or things that are not said correctly? What do I mean? This case nobody is talking about, but I found very interesting, and it could set a precedent in the podcasting live streaming world. And this is it from News 24, which is from AFP. I'm fighting a sneeze off here. Hopefully I can get through the show. Trans pilot sues influencer for lies about plane crash that killed 67. And this is the woman who is suing. Of course, there's a lot of layers to this as well. First of all, what is the lie? That you're a woman, or that you were in the, like, what is the lie that you're seeking to rectify? That's really the question you have to look at. A transgender dude who thinks he's a woman pilot filed a defamation lawsuit on Wednesday against a conservative influencer who falsely claimed on social media that she was flying a military helicopter that collided with a passenger jet in Washington in late January. Now, I have to tell you, yeah, well, she's a guy. That State Farm commercial was ahead of its time. Yeah, well, she's a guy. So it is what it is in that regard. I even reported on it too, but I also said, I remember saying, listen, this is not verified. This is just being kind of thrown out on social media because everybody wants to be the first to report something. Everybody wants to be the breaking, wind and news and all these other kinds of things. So mistakes are made. Now, of course, news outlets have a little bit of a shield on that because they're news outlets and sometimes they get things wrong. They can print a retraction. It is the Wild West in this place that I'm in, this live streaming podcasting, because we're not news journalists, although a lot of people with a podcast call themselves journalists. We're really just a bunch of idiots talking into microphones, and whoever is wise enough, in your case, smart enough, and dare I say attractive enough to watch this show is lucky to get it. But there's no real rules on what we do here. There's no rules to it. So Joe Ellis sues Matthew Wallace, an influencer with 2.2 million followers on X, saying he concocted a destructive and irresponsible defamation campaign against her following the crash that killed 67 people aboard both aircrafts. One of his posts, which garnered millions of views, said the Black Hawk pilot might have participated in a trans terror attack, falsely accusing her of intentionally causing the midair collision due to her depression and gender dysphoria, according to the lawsuit. Now, the thing is, that dude went out on a limb saying that. He didn't say, sources are saying, but it looks like the person who was piloting the helicopter was a trans person. This dude was like a trans terror attack and rah, 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 and so forth, just kind of screaming out nonsense. And you know why he did it? He did it to get attention, because that's how you get attention on X. You get the most wacky idea, you fire it out there, you get the retweets and the Elon bucks. Well, I hope he kept the Elon bucks from all those retweets and likes, because I'm thinking he's gonna have to pay. Yeah, some of these people think they're legit journalists, but they're really not. They're literally, we're all just people. We're people. We're just people talking into microphones. And if we're lucky enough to do this where we can be compensated for it and make a living on it, we really have to be thankful for it, because we really don't have to. We don't have, this is not guaranteed. There was no immediate comment from Wallace. He later deleted the post about Wallace. The suit further accuses Wallace of using his prominent stature on X, where he maintains multiple accounts, of seeking to monetize a false narrative. Yikes. Yikes. I don't know. She may be right. She may be right. He knew, because of the anti-DEI stuff Trump was talking, we don't know. It was a DEI pilot. We don't know. Maybe, they were saying that, and they were firing off this stuff. And he knew if he put something, if I would actually, you may not like this, but I would actually take this case in her favor. I would absolutely do it, because it would place some kind of brackets on this. Now, some of you are going to blast me for it, and I hope you do. I hope you blast me for this by saying, let the information flow and let people figure it out for themselves. The problem with that is people's lives are ruined. I didn't cover it, but I know we talked about the Mississippi State University, the girl in Mississippi who apparently had relations with her boyfriend's father. That was a while back. She came out and she's like, completely untrue. I didn't do it. My life is ruined. I had to go online, and now I can't go back to school, and I have to do something else. I don't know if she's lying or not, but if she is telling the truth, her life was ruined because somebody picked something up and fired off on social media. Do you agree? And let me know in the comment section below if you're watching live or if you're watching in the replay. Should we put brackets on social media? Should you be held accountable if you say a trans person was participated in a trans terror attack against the Trump administration, which is essentially what this Michael Wallace guy said? I don't know. Part of me thinks that she may have a legit argument because people's lives are ruined on social media every single day. Part of me is like, hey, man, it's the Wild West. I don't know. But the fake lawyer in me, the Matt Murdock in me would probably take her side, because I would have asked, yes, that's why you're right, Michael. That's why I said allegedly, obviously. The smarter ones always say, take with a grain of salt. This is not confirmed. It's alleged. We don't know. That's this guy's problem. And I think that might be the solution. This guy's problem is he went ham on, she did it. She participated in the attack. It's her fault. Yada, yada. That's where he's probably going to get nailed to the wall. As tens of thousands of social media posts falsely accused Ellis of pointing or piloting the ill-fated helicopter, she worries that someone might track her down using public records. I mean, these are legitimate complaints. The damage caused by Wallace was instantaneous and immense, resulting in suffering for his family due to the hatred inspired by the lies. So there's definitely I don't know. I'm going to try and keep track of the story. I'm so ADD. I might not. I'm not going to promise you that. But I'd like to see where this goes. And if the guy has the money, he's going to have to settle out of court. He's going to have to settle. That's because he went way too hard on this case by trying to make it factual. And it will set a trend for pretty much everybody else to say, you better not say that. You better say allegedly. You better say allegedly the next time you say something. All right. This is Rick Cast. Like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell. I am loving I'm loving the views I'm getting, the people that are participating on Getter. What's going on, you guys and gals over there? I hope you guys are having a great night. Of course, I love my bar rats that are hanging out with me on YouTube, and my bar rats that are hanging out on Rumble. X, you and I are having a relationship issue. But everybody else, much love. All right, next story, ladies and gentlemen. Insert your own jokes here. Barbie announces LeBron James becomes the first athlete with a Ken doll. We all know that the Ken dolls and the autonomy jokes about them. But there he is, LeBron James with his Ken doll. Look at him. He's so stylish. He's the king. He's got his fanny pack. Of course, I like fanny packs, so I can't really dog him there. Barbie said, wait, hold on. Barbie has announced that LeBron James is the first athlete to have a Ken doll. I don't know if I would actually okay with this. He's such a drama queen. He'll fit right in with the Barbies. He actually will hang out with the Barbies and he won't be hanging out with the Kens. Right? His PR team should have said, yeah, we cannot do a Ken doll. We just can't. Why? Because they think there's pictures of you out there. People think you go to the Diddy parties. You can't do the Barbie doll right now. Maybe later, but not right now. Mattel, the parent company that owns Barbie, released photos of its new doll in the likeness of NBA legend. I mean, he's very good. I tend to think LeBron is not a top 5 player all time. I think he's maybe top 15, but some people come after me and say I don't know basketball, but I do. He's an activist, author, and philanthropist, LeBron James. Barbie said it is collaborating with LeBron James Family Foundation to release the first Ken doll of a professional athlete. Mattel said next year, Ken's character will celebrate its 65th anniversary with James's first Ken doll, and they're excited to expand the Kenbassadors. Yeah. Yep. That's right, Crotchety. You're trying to market out, expand the market. Ken is Barbie's longtime best friend and supporter. Bro, he got friend zoned. Even in the announcement, Ken can't get any love. He can't even get any love in the announcements, man. Golly. Killing him. So is LeBron in the friend zone, or what's up with LeBron? Anyway, we are excited to bring fans a new presentation of Ken that celebrates LeBron as a role model, an icon status, lasting impact on culture, and dedication to setting a positive example for the generations to reach their limitless potential as long as you're born as a 6'8" athlete with incredible athletic talent. Oh, I'm sorry. I say that out loud? My fault. James said that as a child, he was fortunate to have role models who inspired him and showed him. So do you think that LeBron had a bunch of Ken dolls in his house? Think that went down? Probably not. So he didn't have it. And I guarantee you, when he was young, he wouldn't have been caught dead with a Barbie or a Ken doll. Ken was the guy that got beat up by your G.I. Joes. Let's just be real. I'm only telling you what actually happens. But yeah, so it is what it is on that. Sticking true to James' style and likeness, his Ken doll is an inch taller and comes in larger packaging than the standard doll. That's just mean. Because all that's doing is perpetuating stereotypes. That's just the black Barbie has to be bigger, has to be taller, and has larger packaging than the white one. They can't just, you know what? I'm just going to shut up. I just can't. Anyway, the James doll is dressed in a varsity jacket, a LeBron James Family Foundation signature We Are Family t-shirt, Nike sneakers, Beats headphones, sunglasses, a fanny pack, a gold watch, obviously, and his prenual I Promise band. And if you have $75 that you feel like you need to waste, you can buy one of these on April 14th. They really should have released this on April 1st because this is the huge joke. All right, folks. This is Rick Cast. Like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell. And yeah. But that's pathetic. I mean, the guy do you have any pride? I'm just asking. I know most athletes wouldn't be caught dead. I mean, newer athlete generations, I'm sure, don't care because all the, am I gonna get paid if you make a likeness of me? That's all they care about, if they get paid. So that's really the be all end all on that. So it's one of these. He's got a Merce or a fanny pack. I think it's a Merce. Although I do like fanny packs because they're great for concealed carrying. I know the concealed carry community doesn't like me for promoting the fanny pack of freedom, but it is a fact. The fanny pack of freedom is a thing, and I think we need to not be so hateful towards it. All right. Will AI destroy the film industry? That was something that was the subject of the strikes by the writers and the actors a couple summers ago. And I've talked about how AI is advancing and people are really coming leaps and bounds with AI technology. But this is really the death nail, I believe, the beginning of the end of the Hollywood industry. It may not be tomorrow, may not be the next day, may not be 5 years from now, but this is the beginning of the end because you have a major director who is actually embracing AI to quote unquote cut the cost of filmmaking without laying off half the staff. Well, I don't know how those two things work, James. I don't. After joining Stability's AI board of directors, James Cameron has some ideas about streamlining the filmmaking process. The 3-time Oscar winner recently explained why he pivoted from his anti-AI stance to join the visual media last September, i.e., cha-ching, and what needs to happen if audiences we want to continue to see big blockbusters. What to happen if audiences, quote, we want to continue to see, unquote, big. That's a weird line. Quote, the goal was to understand the space, to understand what's on the minds of the developers, he explained on the Boz of the Future podcast, what they are targeting with their development cycle, how much resources have you to throw at it to create new models, blah, blah, blah. And it's not just hypothetical. If we want to continue to see the kind of movies that I've always loved and I love to make, and we'll go see Dune Part 2, movies that are effects heavy and CGI heavy films, we're going to have to figure out how to cut the cost of those in half. Cameron continued, now, that's not about laying off half the staff at the effects company. It's about doubling their speed to completion on a given shot. So your cadence is faster and your thought put cycle is faster. And artists get to move on and do other cool things and then other cool things, right? He's not very good at speaking. He's I guess that's why he's a great director, because visually he's fantastic. But the speaking thing, not great. I get what he's saying. You have to understand that almost every shot in a film now is a digital shot. Even shots that are on location get touched up with AI and with special effects, which means, let me see if I can do this real quick. How many effects shots in, let's say, Captain America, Brave New World. Good, what used to be called New World Order, Brave New World. Let me see if it'll actually say that. Let's see here. So what they're telling me right off the bat is that just in the climactic cinematic confrontation between Red Hulk and Captain America, there were 300 visual effects shots in that one set piece, which means more than just like, oh, well, the Hulk is one, and now Captain America flying around, even the trees, even the cars, everything is an effect shot now, which means the effect shot have doubled. I don't know how many effect shots were in the original, how many effect shots in the original Jurassic Park, because everybody always likes to use that Jurassic Park, because I always put like an extra R in there. So the Jurassic Park's effects. Okay. So the first Jurassic Park film, the one that everybody agrees is good, had 63 visual effects shots. 63. Captain America Brave New World in the last set piece had 300. Do you see how it's expanded? And so what they mean is that, all right, if you have 300 effect shots, there's got to be a way to run that. You know, your artist gives out some kind of template and then gives it to the AI, and the AI can, you know, cease out, get the ducking taken care of, make it all pretty, and then move on so you can get to the next shot. So you can run, you know, 50 shots in the background while you're doing it, almost turn it into what essentially he's saying is he wants to take AI and use it into an assembly factory of visual effect shots. So they're just one after another. You put in Captain America punches the Hulk in Washington, on Washington, D.C. Boulevard at night, and then it'll render the shot, and then they'll take care of it. And that way you'll reduce costs by reducing hours. And if you reduce hours, because one thing they don't talk about right now is that visual effects artists in Hollywood are burnt out, because not only are they given movies like Captain America Brave New World that have 300 effects shots in one set piece, they're giving them to them like, hey, we need these 300 shots done in a month. And the visual artists are like, we can't do that. And they go, if you don't do it, we're going to go somewhere else. So, you know, these effects houses are getting burned out. So it's a way to decrease costs and decrease the load on these people. Stability AI CEO Prem announced in September that Cameron would be joining the board of directors, helping the company work towards its mission to transform the visual media for the next century by giving creators a full stack AI pipeline to bring their ideas to life. So, you know, it's an idea. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. And I think the way that Cameron is trying to look at it is, hey, eventually movies are going to be made by AI programs, but let's try to push it off as long as possible by using them in a specific way. If we can say, oh, we use AI in the post, you know, in the editing process. And so that way we don't have to use it now. So it's it'll be interesting to see how this works forward. I will say this. I think Cameron is also addressing an issue that a lot of people don't want to talk about, is that if you pay like $20 to go see a movie now, the visual effects look awful. They have looked progressively worse in new films because they're just overloaded. So I think Cameron's also trying to get in here to help take the load off the editing process, and B, to clean up these visual effects so films actually look better. Because I think Cameron actually does care about how films look. Whatever you think about him personally, the guy is, you know, he's got an eye, and he has an eye for film, or for how the media is supposed to look. So at least he'll be able to contribute in that way. All right, folks, that is it for this episode of Rickcast. I need you to do me a favor, like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell, help the show grow. I love seeing all of you guys over there on Getter. You guys showed up tonight. Do me a favor, leave me a like to show me that you enjoy the show. Rumblers, I want you to leave me a like, leave a comment below as well. Tell me how I'm doing. You people on X, I don't care. You guys got to show up more. You guys are terrible. But everybody else is great. Love it. And is my one Twitch user out there? He is. My one Twitch user. I always salute you, my friend. I will talk to you later. I hit the wrong button. This is the one I wanted to hit. That's it. This has been Rickcast. I will see you all tomorrow night, which will be Friday, the 11th of April, 2025. God bless. And until that day comes, before I say that, if you're interested in seeing more of me, I will be on Census Fidelium in like 15 minutes. I'm just going to go grab some water. And then I will be hanging out with the one and only Steve Cunningham, because I love Steve Cunningham. And we have a great show for you tonight. I'll see you in like 15 minutes on Census Fidelium. If not, I'll see you tomorrow night. God bless. And until that day comes, free Dexter Taylor.